Welcome to Downshift. My name is Matt, and this is Nissan's Rogue. And more specifically, this year we get the Rock Creek. But the Rogue itself competes in the hottest industry, or the hottest segment in the automotive industry. Things like the RAV4, the Mazda CX-5 and CX-50, Honda CR-Vs, Subaru Foresters, and the like. So today, I'm going to walk you through the 16 things that you need to know about the Nissan Rogue. We'll start with what this thing is and what it competes against. Now, Nissan's Rogue, again, operates in kind of the most high-intensity segment there is. It's kind of somewhere between a compact and a mid-size crossover. It competes against things like the RAV4s, the CR-Vs, the CX-50s, and so on. And what's new for 2025? Well, 24 was actually the heavy refresh, and 2025 here introduces the Rock Creek, which is about an $800 add-on package. It gets you tires and wheels, it gets you 360 cameras with the trail cameras that show up your side tolerances, so it's super helpful for off-roading, and you have an off-road mode which actually brings up those cameras automatically. You get a hill descent mode, and up top you get a tubular, yes, tubular roof rack is what they call it. You get, of course, a unique front fascia and grille treatment for your Rock Creek. You get Rock Creek badging everywhere. It's almost like a BMW M car. And you get heated seats with the Rock Creek with some contrast stitching, logoing, and those seats get real hot, real fast, real nice. And in the trunk, you get a 12-volt outlet. And then we'll talk about what's under the hood. There's really only one option that you can get here, and it's a 1.5 turbo 3-cylinder. It's their VC turbo, or variable compression. Makes 201 horsepower and 225 pound-feet. That's not too bad for the segment, especially when you're considering that this is non-hybrid power. It's rated for about 31 mpg normally, but with these off-road tires, or all-terrains, I guess you could say, the Rock Creek brings it down to about 29. We did do our Lakeshore Loop fuel economy test. It came back with 36.1 mpg, but that seems to be a little bit flattering than what you're going to get in the real world. But the thing is, this is the only engine that you can get. There's no hybrid and there's no plug-in hybrid, but I think Nissan is working on those options. And when it comes to the drivetrain, power then goes through an xTronic CVT to either front-wheel drive as standard or all-wheel drive. That's going to be standard for your Rock Creeks here. And then in terms of dynamics, we'll talk more about this behind the wheel, but it's actually pretty pleasant. And in terms of styling, of course, we have to talk about the unique treatments for the Rock Creek. Now, obviously, you see you have a unique grille. It doesn't even really look like a V-motion grille anymore, but you do have white or kind of chrome treatments up at the top, and then red-orange accents down below for your Rock Creek. A little bit more aggressive, a little bit more unique fascia for your Rock Creek here. Of course, you get LEDs up front, but not for your turn signals, and they're kind of reflector style for your projectors down below. Now, this is the Baja Storm paint color. It's $425, and personally, I think it complements the Rock Creek incredibly well with the black and orange accents. But around the side, like we said earlier, you have unique 17-inch wheels with kind of that Rock Creek orange detail in the spoke, and you have Falcon Wild Peak all-terrain tires. They're actually pretty quiet on the road, and it does affect your fuel economy a little bit, but not too much. On your front door, you have Rock Creek, some black skid detailing around the side, of course some black wheel arch cladding to protect from things like rocks and gravel. And then up top, you do have a blacked out A-pillar with some chrome banding at the top of your window treatments, black wing mirror, and your tubular roof rack, which is unique to the Rock Creek, as you can see from this little badge here. Around back you have LED taillights, but again, not for your turn signal. And the rear quarter is pretty clean. It's very classic and conventional Rogue with a little bit of Rock Creek detailing. No exposed exhaust, but leave it down in the comments what you prefer the look of, this or something like a Mazda CX-50 Meridian. And your towing capacity on, I believe, all Rogues is 1,500 pounds. That's pretty on par for the rest of the segment. If you need more, maybe look at the Mazdas, or you'll have to go up in class, but definitely competitive. And then we'll talk about the trunk space. Now, generally, I expect trunk releases to be here, but this Rogue is one of those that has it down there. It is powered here for your Rock Creek. It'll also be powered in your Platinum. You, of course, have power release and lock, which is quite nice, but the space itself is also really nice. This is 36 cubic feet with the rear seats up. That makes it just 1.5 cubic feet shy of the leader in the segment. So this is a huge space. You've got little bins down here with tie downs each side. You've got a floor liner, which works pretty well, and a spare tire. You don't see that every day. I would like to maybe see a couple grocery bag hangers, but you do have your 12-volt outlet here for your Rock Creek, and the seats do fold from the back of the seats there. With them down, you're looking at about 74 cubic feet of space, which again is segment leading just 1 cubic feet shy of segment leading. So trunk capacity, real good. And as we check out the rear seats, first we'll address the door, which opens pretty much 90 degrees, which is real nice. You don't have window shades. I don't really expect that from this class, but it might be nice to have. But you do have kind of an etched plastic with some orange stitching in your door, and the same thing in your seats. It is that synthetic leather with the cloth, but we'll hop in for a second. But first, I'm gonna mention that you don't have a panoramic roof here, but you can get a panoramic roof as standard if you go for the platinum trim. But again, I'm 6'1", and I've got plenty of knee room in front of me, a real nice space, and I even have plenty of headroom with my nub. You know I love to see that. We also have a single map pocket here, some vents, and some USB-C chargers. If we were to go up to the Platinum, we'd have a third climate zone here, again with the panoramic roof, but some chargers here as well. But I really like this seat. It's kind of that stadium seating thing where I'm sitting a little bit higher than the front seats, so if you get motion sick or car sick, this might actually be a nice place to sit to have some good visibility out of the car. And as we check out the front seats, we do have 2-person memory for our front seats, and we have the same kind of synthetic leather with the cloth. These are 3-level heated, and they get real hot real fast, which is real nice because of the cloth, realistically. Orange stitching, Rock Creek stitched into the seat itself. The seats are nice and comfy, actually. You even have a heated steering wheel with the same kind of orange stitching and banding across the rest of the steering wheel. So overall, it's a nice natural seating position, it's comfy, and it's nice and hot when I need it to be. And then touching on the interior as a whole, I hope you like black because that seems to be the only way that you're gonna get your Rock Creek. But again, the orange stitching kind of makes it feel a little bit more unique. And overall, it's a fairly clean and practical design for the cabin. It's not super cluttered, and it's fairly handsome. Now I will say some of the materials and build isn't quite on the same tier as like a Mazda or a Honda, but again, those kind of lead the segment. And I do like some of the smart choices that they've made, like instead of going with just a shiny gloss plastic like they have here on the dash, for your center console, it's almost like an etched material, which makes it feel a little bit more expensive, and it's gonna be a little bit more resistant to scratching or wear or kind of fingerprints or things like that. And they could have easily gone with gloss black for the steering wheel controls, but it's a matte finish black, which is, again, pretty nice. So overall, I don't really have a complaint about the interior. The cup holders are in the right spot. You have physical buttons for your climate and your HVAC and your heated seats, and the screen is decent size. And it's got Apple CarPlay, although it is wired. Oh, and you also have a huge amount of storage everywhere in this thing. And then touching on the technology here, on the Platinum you can get a head-up display. We don't have it here, but we also have a semi-digital instrument cluster that shows me just about everything that I would realistically need. Again, if you go up to the Platinum, you'll get a fully digital instrument cluster, which looks nice and modern. But here we've got an 8-inch screen. You can again upgrade to a 12.3-inch screen in your Platinums and higher trims. You can get wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and the software is going to be Google or Android based. It's pretty good. You got Google built in. Again, the system is a little bit dumbed down for the one that we have here. But one of the things that I think is funny is when you operate the screen, it clicks and it sounds exactly like a mouse click if you were operating like Windows 95. Just kind of some funny charm. You can also get a wireless charger down in here, and you can get some 360 cameras. Again, if you go into off-road mode, we'll throw it into park, and then go into off-road, it automatically brings up your trail cameras. So you've got a front-facing camera like you would see in like a Bronco Raptor Baja mode, and your side tolerances. So if you're traversing a forest in Wisconsin, it's going to be easier to see and you're not going to run your car into a tree. There is no digital rear view mirror for any trim, I believe, but in terms of your safety suite, you have Nissan's Pro Pilot Assist 2.1. It's not the best I've ever tested, but it's definitely good enough to be helpful on the highway, which is really what I'm looking for from a car anyway. So from a tech perspective, you can get pretty much anything you want as long as you pay the money, and maybe you need to go up to the Platinum to get everything that you want, but overall, even here in the Rock Creek, it's pretty good. And last thing we'll finish out with before we go for a drive is price. Now, a Nissan Rogue starts at $28,420. The topped out Platinum trim starts at $38,700. Now, as tested, we're testing here at $38,890 because we have the Rock Creek package here with all of the extras that it brings. So I actually think there's a pretty decent value to be had here. So let's talk about that a little bit more behind the wheel. Hey guys, real quick, Matt here. Just wanted to say I hope you've been enjoying the video. If you have, would really appreciate you hitting that subscribe button. I know it doesn't seem like a big deal, but it does go a long way in helping us get access to cars sooner and get access to manufacturer engineers so we can get more information on the cars and get you more information so you can make better decisions. So we really appreciate you hitting that subscribe, like, comment, the whole YouTube thing. But with that, let's get back to the video. Nissan Rogue. There's the turbo. There's that CVT pretending to shift away. I don't know, I kind of like the 3-cylinder. It's got a little bit of a unique charm. Brakes are good. Steering is dangerously light and completely devoid of feel, but the power then comes in and I ride this tsunami of torque. All right. It's fine, you know, perfectly fine. 200-ish horsepower, 225 pound-feet of torque. Feels peppy enough to get out of its own way. It's perfectly adequate. The CVT has been fine. All-wheel drive, good. And overall, this is just kind of pleasant. The thing is, there's not a lot to complain about. If you spend much time on the internet, you'll think that Nissans are like the worst things on the road. And the truth is, yeah, my wife and I, we do have a friend that had owned a Rogue for like a year or two, or I don't know how long they had it, but it did leave them stranded on the side of a highway. But, you know, there's probably other people that don't have that experience. But just here, you know, I have to judge the car on my experience with it over a week. And during my week with this car, it's been fine. There's been nothing wrong with it. It rides well. The steering, again, is not my favorite, but the visibility is good. The seats are comfortable. The seating position is natural. It gets pretty good fuel economy for not being a hybrid. It's got torque. I think it looks pretty cool. It's nice. You know, it's kind of like warming up here in Wisconsin, but it's not warm yet. So the fact that the heated steering wheel heats up and gets real hot real fast is real nice. Same thing with the heated seats. So there's a lot I like about living with this car. It actually kind of holds on. I'm not getting a lot of noise or roar from these Falcon Wild Peak tires for your Rock Creek here. It's actually really pretty pleasant. And I hate to say that in like a surprised tone, but again, if you spend any time on the internet, you're kind of initially triggered to think that this wouldn't be a good car. And again, I can't speak to the long-term reliability. I don't own this car, I spend a week with it, but based on my week, this is totally competitive with everything else in the class. And if you're not gonna go for a hybrid, which if you're gonna ask me my personal thoughts and opinions, I do think that if you're shopping in this class, you probably might as well get the hybrid. But if you don't want a hybrid for whatever reason, this is pretty solid. This represents a pretty good value. You're getting a lot of car here. It's a completely competitive car at a reasonable dollar figure, which again is not something that you totally come across super often these days. So I guess I could keep rambling, but the fact is the Rogue is a solid car. Again, do your research, read forums on long-term reliability. I know people have concerns about that, but outside of that, everything that I've experienced with this car this week, perfectly fine. So thank you, Nissan, for letting me have a go. Thank you to you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.